This video is sponsored by G2A. Use cashback code DORON for 3% off on Warcraft products. Hello guys, this is Doronsmovies, and today I will be giving you top 10 most horrific undead creations in World of Warcraft, covering some of the worst and most interesting types of undead in the game. So, without further ado, let's get into the lore. Number 10. Geists. As lower-ranking undead forms, the Geists are one of the most iconic creatures from Wrath of the Lich King. Their exact origin is not completely certain, but we do know that at least a portion of them are criminals raised into undeath. This is evident by the bag over their head and the hangman's rope around their neck. Despite being gagged, they are capable of speech and are surprisingly agile and quick, even though their main movement is crawling. Geists are often used in manual labor as well as combat. Their movement and sharp claws makes them a considerable foe in battle. With the scary appearance of undead criminals and agility, the Geists are some of the more eerie beings of the Scourge. Number 9. Flesh Beasts. Flesh beasts are just a type of an abomination, albeit considerably more powerful. Not much is known about them, and only a limited amount was ever constructed, mainly by Professor Putricide. Much like the abominations, they are made of dead bodies, but based on their appearance, it looks like there is a lot more at play here. They most likely include remains of some type of giants, as well as possibly Vrykul and other humanoid and beast-like creatures. Unlike the abominations, which are mainly humanoid, the flesh beasts contain more than just one extra limb. They also have multiple mouths, eyes, as well as fangs. So overall, they're just a massive monstrosity of considerable power built from piles of all sorts of dead creatures that are not only strong, but also spread disease. Number 8. Undead Nerubians. These old god creations were a large part of Northrend and one of the most significant influences over there for thousands of years. However, during the War of the Spider, the Lich King decided to finally take control over the continent. As they turned out to be immune to the plague of undeath, he had to win by attrition, which was a very difficult road. With the aid of the Dreadlords and a large number of undead, the Nerubians were defeated. While they were immune to the plague, they were able to be raised through necromancy. There are many different units, and aside from their size and physical power, they brought a lot to the Scourge through magic and their architecture and the ability to dig deep underground. Nerubians, while different when compared to many of the undead and way more intelligent, were a crucial pillar of the Scourge army. Number 7. Abominations. Crafted within the depths of Scholomance by the Cult of the Damned, the Abominations are horrific beings. Using multiple dead bodies, the necromancers attached and stitched them together, creating these massive monstrosities. They utilized a relatively smart brain, but as the process resulted in brain damage, they became very limited. The end product is a dull-witted abomination spreading disease, wielding cleavers, and other types of weaponry, and overpowering most foes due to their abilities and strength. They are closest to ogres in terms of size and power, but a lot of their functions come from the fact that they're undead and that they spread disease very easily. So you have massive walking, talking piles of dead bodies contaminating everything around them. Extremely resilient and run by necromancy. So being even close to them is not advisable. Number 6. Plague Dogs. There have only been a few of these as they were formed quite late by the Scourge. The Plague Dog, as their name suggests, are dog-like abominations which, even though extremely dangerous on their own, were seen as pets by other abominations, although some were standalone creatures. They seem to be formed entirely out of animal remains and, much like other abominations, are crafted from dead parts, stitched together in all sorts of ways, and raised through necromancy to serve the Scourge. Definitely not the type of dog you would wanna get. Number 5. Ghouls. The official footmen of the Scourge, mainly used as shock troops and just general cannon fodder. There are various versions of them, but almost all of them are made out of fallen humans that were raised by the Scourge. As most of their body had rotten away, their bones and facial features became twisted, making them almost unrecognizable as humans. As they progress into undeath more and more, they also gain claws and fangs, which turns them into formidable opponents. They are a bit different than just the raised undead, and the Scourge necromancers mainly utilize them as they had discovered the formula. Overall, they are just mindless zombies, although there have been examples where they manage to retain a bit of intelligence. They can speak, usually muttering, and they don't do much other than just follow orders from the higher ups. They're also cannibalistic and able to regenerate quickly by devouring friend and foe alike. One of the most iconic creatures in the Warcraft universe, the Ghouls were mainly exterminated, even though they were once very high in numbers, although they still exist to this day. Number 4. Flesh Giants. These are two different creations of the Scourge, but both are incredibly powerful. One is a cyborg type, while another is just an undead giant. These giants were created from storm giants as well as other types of massive northern creatures. They are so powerful that they're literally used as living battering rams due to their tremendous brute strength. Not exactly very intelligent, but extremely powerful and deadly. Just a few of these giants alone could defeat entire armies, especially since they're so resilient as the undead. Their spinal fluid also interacts with the plague, turning it into corrosive acid. So we are only lucky that the Lich King didn't get stronger and employ more of these creations. Number 3. Banshees. Unbeknownst to many, the first Banshees were originally Night Elven women that died in the first Burning Legion invasion. They wandered the world for many millennia, having a deep hatred for life. Eventually, Ner'zhul became aware of them and promised them vengeance upon the living, giving them voices so that all would hear their pain. These were the initial Banshees of the Scourge. Later, as the invasion progressed, during the attack on Quel'Thalas, the Scourge raised High Elven Banshees with Arthas, most notably raising Sylvanas. As the Lich King got weaker, he lost control over some of them, and Sylvanas became the uniting force. Still, some Banshees remained enslaved to the Lich King, and some even remained in the wilderness unaffiliated with anybody up to this day. They are ghost-like beings, having the ability to possess the bodies of their enemies as well as to corrupt their minds. Their dark powers were incredibly powerful and are still utilized by Sylvanas to this day. Number 2. Frost Wyrms. One of the most powerful beings of the Scourge, if not the most powerful. Ages ago, dragons went to die in Northrend, and a big part of the continent is just littered with dragon remains. When the Lich King came to power, he took advantage of this and, using necromancy, raised many of the dead dragons. This created massive skeletal flying creatures that radiated cold power and nothing but the will to serve their master. Due to being mainly skeletal, they were incredibly hard to kill, massive and dangerous. With their ability to use cold breath as a weapon, they are able to shatter entire buildings by pulling moisture from the air and freezing them. While there are many smaller dragons, there were also very powerful blue dragons in the service of the Lich King, such as Sindragosa, who was one of the more powerful of the dragon fights. While most of them have been defeated, the Frost Wyrms are still remembered as one of the most formidable creations of the Scourge. And lastly, number 1, Flesh Titans. Despite the name, they're not actually of Titanic origin, but are called so because they're just massive and most powerful constructs of the Scourge. They were built from multiple sources, and we have seen 2 of them. One was created from dead storm giants, and another one, Thaddeus, was stitched together from fallen women and children, which was evident in the notable but creepy screams. Regardless, these beings are incredibly powerful. They're extremely massive, intelligent, and even possess deadly electrical power. It is just sickening even thinking about how many dead would be required to create these massive prisons of flesh. We were lucky that the Lich King didn't get stronger and that he only formed 2 of these, because if more Flesh Titans were created, defeating the Scourge would have been an entirely different endeavor. Thank you for watching. Check out how abominations are made by clicking on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe as it really helps out and keeps all the content going. See you next time.